Hello everyone, this is the Adafruit CircuitPython Weekly for November 26th, 2018. This is the time of the week where we get together, talk about CircuitPython stuff, see what everyone's doing. The meeting has a way that we do it. We start with the state of CircuitPython, where we talk about how the project is going, what things are looking like, who's participating. And then we will move into hug reports and status updates, which we do as a round robin, where we will go through the list alphabetically and see what everyone's up to. Hug reports are a chance for people to say thanks to other people in the community. This is not only an important thing to do, but it's a way to give someone credit for something they've done, or just to be positive about the whole situation. So that's what we'll do with hug reports. And status updates is just where everyone's at, what everyone's up to. You can tell us what projects you've been working on, what sort of code you've been doing, that sort of thing. And so we will get to that. So first of all, we will get started with the state of CircuitPython. So overall, we have had 13 pull requests merged for both CircuitPython and the libraries. We had 9 authors and 5 reviewers, which is great. And overall, we've had 9 issues closed by 6 people and 8 opened by 8 people. So we're going to go ahead and move into talking about the core, and I will let Scott take it away with that.
Awesome, thank you. Let's take a time code as well. With the core in the last week, as of last night, we had 5 pull requests merged from 4 different authors, Summersoft, myself, Dan, and C47D, with 4 reviewers, normal folks. We have 8 open pull requests. If you're interested in what those 8 are, check the notes for everything. Check the notes with the recording later, or if you're in the voice chat right now, we've dropped it in the CircuitPython text channel, so you can check it out there as well. Issues-wise, in the last week, we had 3 closed issues by 2 people and 4 opened by 4 people, so we're up 1, which is not too bad. We like to hover right around kind of stasis, I would say. And then we have a total of 61 open issues that you can check out if you go to the link in the notes. Download-wise, our latest unstable release is 4.0 Alpha 3. We've had 188 total downloads with that. If you want to see a breakdown by those downloads by board and by language, again, check the notes. It's all there for everyone to see. Stable-wise, we've had 2,891 total downloads on 3.1.1, which is great. I don't remember what the number is from last week, but we tend to do about 400 or 500 downloads a week. And then if I had to summarize kind of where we're at, 4.0 Alpha 3 really did put the alpha in everything, but we should expect to see an Alpha 4 later this week that stabilizes all the USB stuff. And we were just talking briefly earlier. I think we're going to punt a lot of the stuff that's listed as 4.0 right now so that we can get a 4.0 stable out the door. And then we'll do like a 4.1 and a 4.2 or maybe a 5.0 if we want to add extra, or if we'll do 5.0 if we want to change stuff. But we basically want to get a stable 4 out sooner rather than later since we're actually shipping it on hardware already. So yeah, that's the summary for the core.
Thanks. All right, next up, we're going to talk about the CircuitPython libraries. Get a time code. So for the libraries, we had 8 pull requests merged. We had 5 authors. There are 2 names that I don't recognize, Robert H.H. and Adam M. Hale. So those are 2 people who put in new PRs. Thanks so much for that. We had 5 reviewers, which thank you everybody who reviewed. We currently have 11 open pull requests. Those are in the notes, and as well, they are also in the CircuitPython library tracking issue, which is located on the CircuitPython repo. I'll put a link into that later. So if you're interested in taking a look at any of those, you have a couple options for finding what they are. We had 6 closed issues by 4 people and 4 opened, or yeah, 6 closed by 4 people and 4 opened by 4 people, and we're currently at 61. So we're hovering right around the same amount. Again, those links are all in the notes and also in the library tracking issue. The rest of the information on libraries, the best place to find that is in the CircuitPython library tracking issue. There's all sorts of issues we have with the repos. Like for example, maybe it's missing an example with the correct name. It's a very simple thing that if you're new to coding, if you're new to Git or GitHub, it's a very simple fix, and it's something that you could use to get your feet wet if you wanted to start contributing. So take a look at that. There's a lot of great first issues available around our libraries, and we are always available to help. There's a Git and GitHub contribution guide. But if you're not sure after you've read that, feel free to ping any of us, and we will definitely do what we can to help you get started. So that is the state of CircuitPython. And now we are going to move to Hug Reports. Hug Reports are a chance for you to give thanks to other community members who may have done something uh, to help out, any kind of positive thing that you had help with, or something you saw, or to just give thanks to the whole community in general. I will start it as an example, and then we will continue down the list. There are some people who are not here or don't have microphones. If you don't, you can add your Hug Reports into the text chat and we will read them out. Or you can add them to the notes if you are if you have access to the notes, you can just add them in there and we will read them out as well. So let's get started. I have a bit of a list this week. I want to say thank you to K-Town and Dan for letting me sit in on a call this morning. It was way over my head, but was incredibly interesting. So I'm really glad that I got to sit in on that. Thank you to Brennan for all the help with Character LCD and with all the testing for that. Thanks to Sedacious for getting in the ADXL 345 pull request with all the new features. It looks great. Can't wait to get going with that. Thanks to Summersoft for all of the AdaBot work. And thanks to Andon for handling a Discord issue we had this morning. But most importantly, thank you to all the community members who reported the issue. Without those reports, we wouldn't be able to deal with the issues that come up because it happened in direct messages. So we really appreciate people taking the time to do that. So thank you very much to everybody who did that. So next up is Sedacious, who's just lurking. So I will read his notes. Thanks to Katney, myself, and Microbuilder, K-Town, for reviewing the ADXL 345 work. And thanks to Adafruit PT and Adafruit in general for being extremely supportive in promoting me and my wife's work on our CircuitPython enabled toys. All right, next up is Summersoft. Do you want to paste into the chat? Or are you just lurking today? All right. From Summersoft, just a ginormous group hug this week. All right. Soundmaster AJ, do you have any hug reports? If you don't have a... Oh, you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. You can type into the chat if your sound's not working. Okay. In the meantime, let's move on to Scott.
All right, thanks. First and foremost, I wanted to do a hug report to C747D and Juan Bondi, who is at III Ito 2788 on GitHub for working on the Spanish translation. I thoroughly enjoy when people come across things and offer to help. So that was really cool. Again, I wanted to shout out Summersoft for the AdaBot love. I feel like you're like the mechanic and making AdaBot ever better. Thank you, Summersoft. Shout out to Lady Ada for her Linux foo over the weekend, getting live GPIOD going. Pretty sure she's the first one to ever manage to get it to actually work, which is super cool. And Arthur Dent 62, thank you for the TLC chaining PR. I don't think it's checked in yet, but adding that support will be really good. And then lastly, Katney, thank you for learning the ins and outs of running the meeting. I didn't quite realize how much there is involved in it until we've gotten everything set up. So really appreciate you being the second person to pave the way on that. So thank you.
Absolutely. So Soundmaster AJ posted that they are just listening in for the first time to learn how to help. That's great. All right, next up is Carter, who is lurking. I remember this now. All right, next up is C. Grover. Oh, Carter gives a group hug, even though he's lurking.
Yeah, I wanted to give some specific thanks to Tony D for the OLED text libraries, and to Dan H and the team for the stellar work that they did with the Bus.io library, particularly for UART. It really saved my bacon when I was working with some traditional MIDI current loop interfaces this weekend. So thanks to all of you, and then a group hug, of course, because this team is really great.
Excellent. Thanks very much. All right, Charles.
Uh, C. Grover beat me to it. It sounds like the USB MIDI and the regular UART MIDI is coming along pretty nicely. I have a group hug for all who are working on that. Thank you very much.
All right, awesome. Next up is Dakota.
Sorry, I'm on my Mac today. I'm just getting the audio working, so I'm even more helpless than usual. I'm going to have to send vague hugs today. I got some help in Git from a couple people, and I can't remember names. And being on the Mac, I can't even I can't even fall back on any other tools to find them. So
It's all good.
we'll just have to go with that for now until they're better thanked, maybe next time. And it's just been chaos all week, so I haven't accomplished anything. So group hugs all around.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, next up is Dan.
Hi. So I want to thank Scott and TAC for continuing to chop away or work on Tiny USB. TAC is working on some changes that Scott proposed, and they're working collaboratively on improving Tiny USB. And Scott has fixed a really significant bug in the latest build, and still is going great guns on this. That's really great. And then Kevin Townsend, K-Town, who is our resident BLE expert. I had several one-on-one conversations with him over the past week or so, which was really helpful in working on the BLE IO API. And we actually brought in another BLE expert who works at Nordic and had another meeting today about that, which was also really helpful. So that's really giving me a big education on what BLE is and needs. All
That's
right.
great. All right, thanks, Dan. Next up is Jay Upler, who posted that they are just lurking and listening. Hug reports to everyone who is working on bug triage and code reviews. Oh, Jay Upler is also typing. Oops. Fair enough. All right, next up, Jerry.
Yeah. Shout out to Brent R. You for his awesome work on the Tiny LoRa CircuitPython. He's got a first pass out there, up and running, and did some work with it today. So it's really coming along great. And also to Carter for his jumping in on this weird Raspberry Pi SPI issue last week. Looking forward to talking with him more about about it as it goes on. But thanks for jumping in and helping with that. And Dan and Scott for the USB fixes. Things are working really nicely right now.
All right, great. TG Techie, do you have hug reports?
I do. Hi.
Hi.
If I'm again walking home, so if it's noisy, I don't mind repeating any. I'd like to give a general hug to everyone for being such an awesome and open community, and the massive amount of work that's being put towards bug fixes for 4.1.1 Alpha 3. And specific thank yous to Jerry N, Dan H, and another person whose name is escaping me, but I'll call you out and say thank you if I do remember. And again, group hug.
All right. Thanks very much. And that is hug reports.
Katney, I think there's a Cascades and Brennan's at the top under yours.
Yes. All right. So yes, good catch. Thank you. So Cascade posted, can't make it today, but extra hug reports to Tan Newt and Sagittac for helping me get started on debugging and figuring out what's going on with SPI Flash I'm using on a custom board last week, and group hug to the rest of the growing community. And then Brennan posted, thanks to Lady Ada for guidance on the libgpiod DHT implementation and taking over that project at the probably needs an oscilloscope phase, and to Katney for patient work on the character LCD stuff. And with that, we're done with hug reports. So next up is status updates. This is something that actually is what started this whole thing, where we take the time to talk about what we're doing, maybe what we've done over the last week since the last meeting, and what we're going to do over the course of the next week after this meeting. It's just a chance to discuss what you're doing, and it's also a chance for other people to be able to give you some tips or tricks on anything that you might be doing that you're running into issues with, or just in general, that to get insight on whatever it is you're working on from other people. We try to keep this to just the status updates. We have something afterwards called In the Weeds, which is where we get into much deeper discussions. So if we run into something during status updates that makes more sense to discuss after status updates, we can always move that to In the Weeds. But we will first get started with status updates. I will start. We do this also as a round robin, and we will go through alphabetically, just like we did with hog reports. And I will start as an example, and then we will go through the rest of the list. So last week, as every week now, I had Library Monday, which went well, updated the tracking issue, followed up on AdaBot issues, verified everything was released, and verified everything was in the bundle. The big thing that happened for me was that the character LCD refactor was released, and I immediately found a bug, like you do. So that's been fixed. I updated all of the character LCD code and guides, etc., because this was a massive API breaker. So everything that was using that code had to be updated, all the code snippets, that sort of thing. And this all started with trying to get the RGB character LCD shield to work with CircuitPython, which it now does, and now the guide is updated to reflect that. I did a little more work on the Trellis M4 NeoPixel toggle demo guide page. We want to have a page where we're showing using the Trellis M4 CircuitPython library to actually write a piece of code. So I'm still working on that. I started updating the character LCD PyPlate page, and I tested the LSM 9DS0 SPI update. It still had issues, and it was not as simple of a fix as we first thought. So this week, today is again Library Monday, hooray! So I'll be going through and doing all my library stuff today. There's an issue currently going on with Travis on the Learn Guide repo. We'll be looking into that. I will be finishing up the character LCD PyPlate page. The plate needs testing, but we will get to that when we can because it's I2C. It should work the same, but that is never how things go. There were updates to the LSM9D as 0 pull request, so I'm going to test that. And then once I'm through all that, I am back into the list of PyPI guide updates as we are updating all of our guides to show how to use CircuitPython both on microcontrollers and also on Raspberry Pis or other single board computers. So we'll be updating all the guides to show how to do all that. And I have a list that I'll be starting on, and then from there continuing on that project. And that is my status update. So next up we have Sedacious, who has notes in the, or has status update in the notes. Last week and the interval. Went to DesignerCon with the wife, sold some stuff, met lots of cool people, and showed off the CircuitPython Raccoon. Worked on new features for the ADXL 34X driver. And this week, the plan is to finish up the 34X PR, work on guides, and work on some more boards. So next up is Summersoft. All right. Last week, traveled much, ate more, and worked less. Sounds good. Worked a little on Adabot on Travis. Bundle updates are failing due to credentials, which we can talk about in the weeds. Excellent. And added validators a la carte to Adabot. This week, the plan is to finish the aforementioned Adabot work, research and work on Lady Ada's Adabot for Arduino request, and catch up on outstanding pull requests. SPI for FRAM comes to mind. And that is it for Summersoft. Soundmaster AJ, do you have a status update? Still listening in, just learning. That is a perfectly good status update. All right, next up is Tan Newt. Scott.
Hello.
Hi.
So I made progress on MIDI. It's still not working, but I definitely spent some time on that. Let's see. Updated CircuitPython to the latest tiny USB. There was a couple issues that came up with Alpha 3, so updating to the latest tiny USB fixed those, I think. So I'll probably do an Alpha 4 this week to go along with that. I added a SAMD 21 and 51 example to TinyUSB along with a makefile and switched Travis to it as well. So TinyUSB actually has a green Travis build now, which is really good. It was running some old tests that were failing. And so it was always when people made PRs, they're like, well, it's failing. Like, what did I do wrong? And it wasn't their fault at all. So now we're green on TinyUSB, which is really cool.
Great.
I actually started an STM32F4 port, which is the chip that's actually on the Pi board for tiny USB, and I'm writing some docs on how to port to new microcontroller families for tiny USB as well. So this isn't directly CircuitPython work, but because I moved CircuitPython over to tiny USB, it means that we can get the CircuitPython workflow going on new platforms really easily once we have this tiny USB kind of lower level going as well. So it's all about prepping for what I think 29 will be highlighted by, which is really branching out into more boards and more microcontrollers for CircuitPython. So laying the foundation for that. So I got to finish that foundation and move on kind of away from tiny USB a little bit this week. I've got to actually get MIDI working and finished up. So that's like my number one goal this week is to finish this porting doc and then finish the MIDI stuff as well. I'll release Alpha 4, and then kind of an odds and ends thing is I was doing Travis for Tiny USB yesterday, and I noticed that the newer Linux or Ubuntu Xennial is available on Travis now, which it wasn't. We were on really old, trusty.
Okay.
And so I am currently like about to PR a thing to move the CircuitPython build to Xennial as well, which will hopefully give us a little bit of a speed boost and just get us on a newer tool chain for all of the odds and ends. The ARM GCC is all the same, but everything else will be updated, which will be good.
All right.
So that's what I'm doing.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, TG Techie, what is your status update?
Not too much to update. Still looking for alpha testers and slowly bug testing. I've been having trouble compiling my libraries into a binary inside of CircuitPython, and looking for a little help with that. But other than that, just alpha testing and trying to condense code.
All right, excellent.
Oh, sorry, I should say working on a GUI, if I didn't mention that.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Carter is lurking. We have, let me read Brennan's notes. Last week, Brennan worked on character LCD testing and libgpiod pulse in. This week, we're going to be tweaking Blinka for platform detection, working on using libgpiod Python bindings for GPIO pin implementation, rewriting some Pi character LCD documentation, and miscellaneous testing and code reviews as needed. All right, C. Grover.
A couple of projects this week for the Crunchable Lunchbox synth. I successfully installed the MIDI stack, and there's an internal DSP-G1, the little 8-pin DIP synthesizer inside of there that I use for generating some voices. So I've got the voice selection routines working for that, and the continuous voltage conversion code. I finished that up this weekend too, and so I was able to receive and transmit MIDI while simultaneously reading and writing gated analog pitch signals.
Wow.
Using an M4 DAC. So so far, and this is with CircuitPython 3.1.1, it's really up to the task, and I had no memory issues or noticeable performance issues like I had before. So it's really coming together nicely. Got a few more little things to do to it, and I should have something published here pretty soon.
That's great.
Second project was wrapping up the CircuitPython powered UFO theater or film prop, and sent it to the model maker for its final assembly before filming this week.
Ooh.
So, but we also had a need to crank. I needed to crank out a really quick project for a 3-watt RGB LED downlight for the center of it. Its transport portal needed more intensity, so so I used the eyeball lens that came with the Halloween ADA box for collimation, and with a 3-watt LED there, it can swamp the camera's elements, and so we don't have any issues now with getting a tremendous amount of smoke underneath the model, so that they can see that there's a lot of energy in it.
Yeah.
And I'll post a link to a quick video that I ran during a test in my workshop. You can kind of see what the animation looks like. But there again, CircuitPython worked really well, and it was with an M4 itsy bitsy. It was fast enough for most of the animations. So
very cool.
And I had one question. I put something up there for in the weeds, but it might be something that can be answered here. And that's, I've been using an SSD 1306 OLED display, and it has a reset pin on the breakout board. What happens if you try to attach it to a stemma interface is that the display just won't initialize on power up. And I'm wondering if there's a way through the I2C interface to reset the controller for the OLED display so that you don't have to run an additional wire outside of the stemma interface and take up another GPIO pin. So if there's anybody out there that has any answer to that, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, that one I'm not sure on.
I'm going to try a couple of things by putting, it's mostly just on power up.
Yeah.
So I might try putting a resistor and a capacitor on there and force the reset. We'll see how that works.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that in the meantime, see if anybody's got any insight into that.
That's it.
All right. Excellent. Charles, what is your status update?
I'm still working on my MIDI stack for my electronic ocarina, but I discovered something when I tried to do it with a Raspberry Pi with Blinka.
Mm-hmm.
There's an issue with getting the UART interface to be at the proper speed. I can't get 31250 out of it
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, out of the Raspberry Pi UART interface. You know, the hardware UART.
Yeah.
But you know, if anybody has a suggestion, I pop over to the regular Discord chat
Okay.
during the week. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
I
and
know we're still working on stuff with Blinka, so it could be an issue that it could actually be an issue, something we need to fix.
yeah, I can put. I'm thinking about putting an issue up on the GitHub so that you know, people are aware of it. I found a really kludgy solution online. So that's as far as I've gotten. Thank
Okay.
you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Dakota.
It just seems that I'm losing my mind and progress to so many distractions and chaos. But I did manage to get my first issue posted to GitHub with a lot of help last week, and I did manage to get the M4 trellis kit assembled, although I'm in the process of trying to get it tested. So that's why I was monkeying with the Mac.
All right.
Other than that, it's just chaos.
Chaos can be good, it can be bad.
Did you see my reply to that, Dakota?
To the GitHub issue?
With the date and time?
Yeah, on Thursday.
Yeah, I replied to that as well.
Okay, perfect. I didn't see that. Awesome, thanks.
All right, Dan.
Really, what I'm spending 90% of my time on is still the Bluetooth, the BLE API work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's this week, last weekend, continuing this week. Other than that, just some, like I usually do some support stuff on the weekend, and that always brings up new issues. But BLE all the time right now.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Jerry.
Yeah, I finally got some updates into the RFM 69 and 95 libraries to allow users to access the radio headers, which it was something I've wanted to do for a while. So it's nice. It's nice for me, and it's transparent. So if you don't want to use it, it doesn't break anything, but allows you to address different units. So you can have multiple radios on this, talking to each other, but only responding to packets that they care about.
Oh, nice.
And if anybody tries it and has any questions or finds anything wrong, please let me know. And let's see, I've been also playing with this new Tiny LoRa stuff, and really excited to see it coming together. That's a really nice step. And also, I got in the mail a bunch of particle I/O boards this week, so I'm so confused, and trying to make heads and tails of those things. So lots to do. So next week, hope to play a lot more with the Tiny LoRa and with the particle I/Os. So trying to make some progress.
All right, excellent. And with that, that is status updates. So the next thing we have is in the weeds. This is a part where we get into more in-depth discussion about any kind of things that anyone has. The way that we do this is if you have anything, please post it into the text chat. We have 2 in the notes already. But if you have anything else you want to discuss, please put it in the text chat, and that way we can get to it after we talk about the 2 that we already have posted in the weeds. And that way we're not sitting around waiting for like a long period of time to see if anybody has any other things they want to talk about. So the first thing we have, Summersoft posted Adabot credentialing for bundle updates on Travis. The question is which approach? I think I can put a lot, if not all, into the Python script limit to Travis environment, or split various parts amongst the YAML, a bash script, and the Py script. So what do we think about that? Scott, do you have an opinion?
I think the Travis environment is probably the best way to do it.
Okay.
I don't know all the background that Summersoft's hinting at here. But in general, like the Travis environment's the right way to do credentialing stuff in terms of like what the actual tokens and stuff are. Otherwise, if you put them in all of the files, then people could read them, which is not what we want.
Gotcha.
But I assume Summersoft knows that, so I think there's some subtlety here that I'm missing.
Summersoft, do you
I'm
have
at work.
any?
But
Oh, go ahead.
I'll try and talk. Is this working?
Yeah,
Yep.
it is.
Oh, hooray, hooray. So the issue becomes, of all of the ways I've seen to credential using the Travis environment, is that all assumes that you're working on the repo for that Travis. But since the Python script is running on a different repository, it's how you get that credential when you pull it down. You know what I mean? I've seen a couple different ways, but that was where they were all using bash scripts.
Right.
And so that's kind of where that subtlety that you're talking about is. Do you want me to put all the credentials into the credentialing, so using the git config, and then the credential helper into the Python script, or do you want to mix it between the YAML or a bash script? Just to keep, I guess, flexibility is probably one of the other parts that I would think about.
Well, I think the way that it's set up now is that it's still a matter of what environment variables you have. I think. Or maybe not, because you were talking about a local Git repo.
Well, so the way that we, those of us who have run it, you have to, you set all that up with your environment, your bash script, your environment shell script, and
right,
and the credentialing step you go through in the beginning. But Travis for the bundle repo.
Right. Yeah, I think I've been meaning to look at this as well, and I'm glad you've taken a look at it because you're more responsible for Adabot than I am at this point. But I think even if it's the credentials for a different repo, I'd still put them in the Travis environment for the one that runs, because it just like all of those secret environment variables get encrypted for that specific repo that Travis runs. So
correct. I'm not too worried about them spilling out into the logs or any of that.
Yeah.
I guess my question is more along the lines of, do you want to bake it into the Python script, or do you want to bake it into Travis, which may include pulling some of that stuff out of the Python script, like the actual moving the push from the Python script to a bash script or into Travis itself.
Oh, I'd leave it in Python. Python is a better scripting environment than either the Travis YAML or the bash. So if you can do it from Python, I would do it there.
Okay.
Which I think you can. But yeah, thanks for looking at that. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. And did you see my note about pseudo require?
Yeah, I think it's going away in the sense that it's always available. Because what's actually going away is the container-based stuff.
Right.
So, but yeah, I was definitely reading up on that when I saw the Xenial stuff. So we should be good to go, I think. I'm hoping it starts up a lot faster, but I doubt it does.
I tried it. It didn't seem to be. It actually seemed to be.
All right. Excellent. So the second thing we have was the question put forth earlier by C. Grover about the SSD 1306 board has a reset pin, but can you reset it over I2C?
So I was looking at this in the background here, and there is a function in the driver. There's a method in the driver class called power on, which will write an I2C command to, quote, reset the display. But whether that's enough of a reset or not, I'm not sure, C. Grover, whether that's, I mean, it's designed to reset. It already has auto reset built in if you look on the schematic. And if you look at line 140, let's see, I'll paste this into the chat. There's a function there you could call. You could try that.
I'll take a shot at it and see if I can, if that makes any difference.
Are you just seeing the problem where it sometimes comes up as a, as a speckled white screen on power on startup?
Yeah, or black.
Yeah, because it's been around for a long time. In fact, wasn't there a design change made at one point to try and work around that?
Yeah. So how old is your 1306? How old is your?
Probably 3 or 4 months.
Oh, okay. Well, you have a new one.
I don't know what production run it came from, but I ordered it about 3 or 4 months ago.
No, this is from like a couple of years ago that it was changed. So.
No, I've experimented with it yesterday and noticed that. But I have similar problems when I'm using time of flight breakout boards as well. They can lock up pretty easily.
And this function power on gets called when you create the instance. So if it's not working then I mean you could try it again, but
yeah, I'll try reinstantiating it to see if that helps.
Yeah. I mean, there's a diode. If you look at the schematic, there's a diode in front of the reset pin, and you could maybe you could.
I'll look at the schematic too, because sometimes just slowing down the reset when with a pull-up resistor and a capacitor, you can usually at least force something to be delayed in its reset.
Right. Right now, it just has the resistor and a diode.
Yeah, I think the stemma interface is going to be pretty useful for a lot of projects, but I have a feeling that there are some breakout boards out there like the TOF breakout boards and obviously the OLED board, and there may be others that I haven't tested yet that could have an issue in getting reset properly when they're connected.
Yeah. Yeah, on
I'll
the
play around
1306.
with this more, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is all we have for In the Weeds. So we can go ahead and wrap it up. So this has been the Adafruit CircuitPython Weekly for November 26th, 2018. I want to thank everybody for participating. We do this every week, Mondays at, I want to say 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Except when there's U.S. holidays, then we move it. Possibly to another day, or we skip. So just you can check in the CircuitPython Discord channel, which is where we are all week. If you are watching this later and you're not already on Discord, you can go to adafru.it/discord and join us. We are in the CircuitPython text chat all week. We're available for questions. Always there for support. So definitely, if you have any questions during the week, feel free to come see us there. And with that, thank you, everybody, and have a great week.